We're talking about Malchus, kingship. Malchus means a deeply pleasurable submission. And a submission that brings about tremendous joy and satisfaction. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about a submission, but what kind of a submission? A submission completely. I belong completely to you. And my dreams and aspirations are to serve you and to make you happy. And in your satisfaction and in your happiness, I find fulfillment. So I basically step out of myself, get out of my shell of me, and give myself over to something bigger than me, greater than me, that my identity now becomes, I am a servant of this higher power, and I see myself to the point that I'm willing to die for this king. A nation, a collective group of people that meet a person, and they see this individual as someone of such value, of such stature. We're talking about higher and higher and higher, to the point that people are just mesmerized and so excited about this individual that they want to belong to this individual. And a malchus is two things. Let's understand. That's the inner core of the relationship of king and subject. The external part of it, once you've submitted yourself to this king, now this king will issue and direct your life. For what? His leadership is one that's the best for the people. But in addition to that, there is the dream, there is the world, there is the vision that this person has, in which this individual is that's his goals and his aspirations, and everybody together is working towards that goal and towards that dream. So there is the pneumius, the internal part of kingship, and the external. The pneumius of kingship is the true understanding and appreciation that we're dealing with an exalted being, an elevated being. The external part of it is the technical surrender. What do I do? What's my job? What do I have to do today in fulfillment of this? Because when you give yourself over completely with a bittul to a certain human being, because you realize that this person is way, way, way above and has no selfish personal interest, there is a deep satisfaction. And it's the greatest thrill. It's like there's a sense of like, wow, I could be in service of this tzaddik. I can be in service of this individual. And almost like my life is meaningful in as much as I can realize the dreams and aspirations of this tzaddik, because my identity has now been included in his identity. I live to bring joy and nachas ruach. Now, you're going to look at this kind of bittul, that this means of service, of bittul, modification, surrender, it's not about me, it's about the tzaddik, should really bring us to depression. Because it's the ultimate suppression of self. It's the ultimate breaking of self. Because as long as you're stuck in yourself, it doesn't really make you too happy. But for some reason, the interesting thing is, it seems like this idea of surrendering yourself to something higher than yourself is so liberating and so freeing that it actually brings out the deepest joy. Because our true identity is our submission.
How many have been hearing this prophecy of the 3 days of darkness? Y'all want to know where it came from? The occult Roman Catholic mystic Padre Pio. In some of his demonic, he would have the stigmatas and stuff, the demonic wounds that would come up, miracles. I mean, this guy was high up in occult mysticism in the Roman Catholic Church. He's the one that gave the prophecy about this 3 days of darkness stuff. That's going to happen in the last days. Now, it's sun and moon going dark, but that's at the very, very end, right before Jesus returns.
This is what my view of Manhattan looks like from Jersey City on a normal, beautiful, sunny day compared to today.
The war that is prophesied in the Tanakh to happen before the coming of Moshiach. In the Hebrew text that we have of the Nevi'im and Ketuvim, the books of prophets and other writings, there is a war that is prophesied to occur. And this is not a war over borders or a war over resources, but rather this is a global effort to stop the redemption. This is where things get really interesting, because we know that we are approaching the messianic revelation soon in our days. But Yetzer Hara is really the arch nemesis of Moshiach. The basic idea is that the Messiah has an arch nemesis, and that arch nemesis is the anti-Mashiach. He is the anti-Messiah. Now, before we continue any further, I want to just give a disclaimer, because I am not going to be holding back in today's class about what I believe regarding very sensitive and controversial topics.
Moshiach is so amazing that he does everything so gently that people can go around doing their business and not even realize that the entire reality, the entire world just changed this weekend. We're actually living in a complete different reality. It's absolutely stunning. And yet, if you choose not to pay attention, you can go by your day doing whatever you're doing. But Moshiach, who is in full force right now, has actually just transformed the entire world. It says when Yosef revealed himself to the brothers, there was such a crying, and there was such loud noise, and there was such a shock. And then when other people found, everybody was screaming, that it says the sound reached the house of Paro. What's that sound? That's the sound of slichot, the sound of the sound of the shofar, the sound of the tshuva. Tshuva comes with a sound, with a cry. That reaches the fifth dimension, base Paro, into the house of Paro. And where does it fit in the word Paro? Paro comes from the word, it reveals from there, it opens up from there. Paro Malashon, it's Peruya, it's revealed from there. All lights come from there, the Zohar says. In order to draw from there, the voice is heard. Which voice?
Many discussions have centered around the impressive star alignment known as the Revelation 12 sign, yet few have discussed its precise meanings. The prophecy reads, "A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head." Let's begin by identifying the woman. Most agree that it's a reference to the constellation Virgo, one of the 12 zodiac constellations visible from both hemispheres. In this, we concur. Virgo, which means virgin or maiden in Latin, is reminiscent of the Virgin Mary, the mother of Christ.
The male child destined to rule all nations as the nation of Israel. The 12 stars symbolize the 12 tribes, and her labor reflects Israel's struggles and hope for the Messiah.
Maimonides Medical Center is at the doorstep.
Maimonides presents laws, practical law. Practical law means, how do we identify who Moshiach is? How do we know where we are? Unless you have a guidebook.
We have a very special Kabbalah that on the 9th month, on the 9th day, on the 9th hour, the gates of the heavens are open. 999.
So there is a place for using the secular dating system, and it's not so strange. Rabbi Levi says that's what it means that Hashem yispor b'chtov amim, that God counts also according to the register, according to the counting system of all the nations of the world.
Based on a talk that the Rebbe said in 1988.
Instead of arguing that the Rebbe is Moshiach, I would argue he was the prophet.
Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the leader of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, known simply as the Rebbe. The Rebbe reportedly believed Netanyahu had a mission from God to prepare Israel for the coming of the Messiah. Over the next decade, the two men developed a close relationship.
What makes him like Elijah more than any other prophet?
The Rebbe reportedly told a young Netanyahu that he would one day become Prime Minister of Israel and would be the nation's last leader before handing the scepter to the Messiah.
Because he's like Elijah.
Right. Elijah-like.
An Elijah-like teacher, prophet.
In the final chapter of Mishnah Torah, the Rambam tells us that at the very beginning of Yemei HaMashiach, the Messianic days, we will see a war unfold known as Gog uMagog. And then the Rambam says that before this war, there will be a Navi, a prophet who will arise. And the purpose of this prophet's arising or coming,
in 1988, the Rebbe said that now is the time that we have to give a life to the king. Yehi HaMelech, long live the king.
Redemption is Geula, right? The whole idea was, how do we bring Geula? What can we do to hasten, to accelerate, to make it happen, to finish it? We're already in the process. We've been in the process of Geula for a long time. We're at the finish line. And what can we do to cross the finish line? So the goal has always been bringing Geula and shifting from a Galut mindset to a Geula mindset, shedding the old Galut mentality. So the goal of the Torah always has been and should be liberty, personal, spiritual, mental, emotional liberation of living like a free human being, where the universe is your playground, and not to feel constrained and constricted and overwhelmed and anxious and depressed and tired and miserable. That's the opposite of what God wants from us, right? God says, I give you life and death. Choose life, right?